penciled out drawing on my rock, and I'm going to cut out a smaller block so it'll be easier to work with. Here we go. Freeform. Now I'm going to shape it. Now it's time for a tool change. Okay, this is really the crux of the matter. I need to drill this hole right down through this stem very accurately to meet the bottom of the bowl here. We'll see what happens. Okay, now I've got it centered. I need to be very careful. I need to sight down the side and the top while I do this. And what I'm looking at is I'm looking at where my target is. So I'm looking at the far end of the pipe. Obviously this drill bit isn't going to get me where I want to go. I'll have to do a bit change into a longer bit. We have to start with a shorter bit because otherwise it's too difficult to steer the bit where you want it to go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this out. Okay, I've got my longer bit on now. You can see I've got a 6-incher. I want to go right to the middle of the bowl hole I've got drawn there. And I can basically see where I've got to go to. There. Got to go several inches. Back to a small bit. Drill the bowl hole. Small bit equals more control. So remember, you always want to use the small bit for directional purposes. And you start a hole. I'll use my other bit to kind of give me an idea of where I'm at here. Looks like I'm about, right there. And there we have it. I hang this angle grinder from this bungee cord so that if it gets away from me, it'll swing away from me and it won't hit the deck and cut my leg off or my arm or something bad. So it's a safety feature and keeps me from having to support the tool. The tool is neutrally buoyant. It weighs nothing. It also steadies the tool for me while I work. Okay, now I'm at a point where I need to redraw my lines on my blank. Got my pattern here, which I drew out earlier, and I've made some reference marks to the shape. So I want to get as close as possible. Obviously it can't be as skinny as the actual proportion because it needs some strength in the stem area, so it has to be a little wider. But it's still going to be recognizable. And you can see I've drawn the pattern on the back side. by just flipping it. And now I'm going to use hand tools to do the detail work. Okay, as you can see here, I've been working with my hand tools to kind of perfect the shape of this Les Paul guitar. And this is what the guitar looks like in the right-handed version. I put the bowl on the bottom. I'm going to display it like this so that it looks more like a guitar. I'm going to just keep working here. Notice I'm carving against a big piece of cedar wood here. If you just hold something in your hand and file on it, you can do that, but you're really doubling your workload because you're having to push from both directions. So if you can push against something, it's going to reduce your overall workload on any particular piece. This is going to be handled by a person, so we don't want any sharp edges on it. We need to knock all the sharp edges off of this entire piece. I'm also blending, make sure we have even surfaces. Grinding a pilot hole so to make them enlarge the bowl here. Make it big enough for the whole band. Now that I've got this hole round, I'm going to change from the cone bit, which makes my pilot hole here, to the cylinder bit so that the walls of the bowl will be flat all the way around. I want it to be like a Pepsi can, the shape of the bowl, the bottom half of a Pepsi can. You want to be sure and keep this bit perpendicular to the piece as we go in here. You can see, if we take our time, we can see our progress. We want to go right down to the bottom of the draw hole, but we don't want to go past. Very important not to go too deep into this hole. Trying to keep the piece under the water so it'll move away the material, the waste material. And you can see down in there. Okay, now I'm going to get out the sandpaper. You can see I've done some engraving here on the piece. I don't know if you can see that or not. There we go. I'm going to sand all this smooth. Touch it up a little bit with some 500 sandpaper. I'm not trying to do anything but maybe remove any dirt that's stuck on there. Just barely hit it, see? Kind of brings out the color a little bit. Black or blacks, white or whites, yellow or yellows. We'll leave the rest of that on there. Go ahead and sand the deck of the bowl, the guitar anyway. What I don't want to do is when I sand this, I need to sand onto the edges as well as the flats. So I have to do a kind of a wraparound. Otherwise I'll end up sharpening these edges of the piece to a knife edge, and that's no good for something you want to hold. Starting to get a little windy out here. You didn't get to see me engrave this. The battery was charging on the camera.
you.